Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. We'll come rain, shine, or anything in between. We're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. I'm Ace Edwards, right alongside
Connor Baltazar.
And aside from me not sounding like I got hit by a freight train, it's just another standard weekly recap, but this one is a lot brighter with one exception than last week's weekly recap. Also, we hit 1,000 followers on Twitter, so that's a big celebratory thing. The Ask the Alleycats episode will be the episode after this, because if we added it onto this episode, it would probably be a 2-hour episode, and we both have.
I really don't want to do a 2-hour episode of Q&A and recap, so I don't think anybody really wants to listen to a 2-hour episode of that either.
Yeah, after the first couple episodes, I don't think 2 hours is ever in our wheelhouse again.
Yeah, I think we'll avoid that from now on, hopefully.
Hopefully, thank God. But we'll just start off. It's going to be men's and women's catsketball and then the batcats. So let's just start off with men's catsketball. After we had a quite a down discussion last week about expectations, effort, all that things just kind of got thrown right back into our face because the K-State Wildcats got right back into the victory column against another top 20? Was it 20 or 15?
They were top 20.
Another top 20 squad in the Iowa State Cyclones in Bramlage Coliseum. I wasn't at this game. I was too busy trying to fight for my life. But this was a pretty solid game. 61-55 Wildcat victory. A capacity Bramlage crowd. And, just we've kind of established a tradition at this point. You take male starters, I take women's starters. So do you want to go into stats, or do you want to talk about the game generally, or how do you want to go for this one?
We can roll through some stats here pretty quick. Marquise Noel, he continued to not really be very efficient from the field, although he was really good from three in this particular game. 4 of 9 from three. Those are his only field goal makes of the day. He was 0 for 4 from 2. And then he was perfect at the line, 8 of 8, a lot of those late. He had 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 turnovers, finishes with 20 points in 37 minutes. Had some head-scratching turnovers still, but this was a all-around probably slightly better performance, despite still taking some threes that when they don't go in, they really hurt.
Yeah.
But better, at least he's in the positive on assist to turnover ratio there. Moving on to Keontae Johnson, he went 6 of 13 from the field, 3 of 4 at the free throw line, had 15 points, and he had 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 turnovers, and a steal. Really quality outing for him, although, as I recall, he was a little bit slow at times in this game. So 15 is under his average. That's still really good, though. Cam Carter didn't do a ton statistically in this game. 2 of 6 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3, had 3 rebounds, no assists or turnovers, a steal, and 6 points. Then we're probably going to be needing more out of him as time goes on. Naquan Tomlin had foul trouble, so he only played 22 minutes, but he was 2 of 3 from the field, 1 of 2 at the free throw stripe, had 6 rebounds, 3 of them were offensive rebounds, 3 assists, 1 turnover, a block, a steal, ended with 5 points. And rounding out this starting lineup was Desi Sills, who started for, I think this was his first start. This game was.
Yeah, I think it was.
And this was his first start of the season. He played 34 minutes with 1 of 5 from the field, 2 of 4 at the free throw line, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, a turnover, a block, and a steal. And that block was emphatic, to put it mildly. And he finished with 4 points. So didn't do a ton statistically, but still, I do think he makes the starting lineup better just by being out there. And then overall, the starting lineup, I don't know, this was ultimately this game was a tale of 2 halves. We were down by 8 at half and still won by 6. And I think both games in this episode are kind of similar in that we had a bit of a sketchy first half where we kind of start out hot and fall behind quickly, down at half, and then have a really good second half. That's kind of how it's gone the last couple of games, especially when you just look at our statistical splits, which we can talk about that a little bit more. But Ace, you can get into the bench players first.
Yeah, there's not much to say with the bench players. You had Ish playing 19 minutes, 2 of 6 from the field, 1 of 5 from three, which from Ish you'd want to see better. You kind of want him to sit in the I'd say 40 range. Coming off the bench. Obviously, you can't consistently get there, but that's what you'd aim for. He was perfect from the free throw line though. 3 boards, 1 foul, 9 total points. David Gasson had a weirdly off day, just all around. It just didn't seem like he was playing all that well. He may still be dealing with a little bit of injury, maybe a little bit of fatigue, but he played 12 minutes, 1 of 2 from the field, only 1 rebound, 3 fouls, 1 turnover, 2 blocks though, and a steal for 2 points. And then Bebe came in, had 2 rebounds and 1 foul, no points. He's just probably the best big guy that we have in terms of defense because he's, solid plus defender on that end of the court. So
Yeah. And David Gasson also did pick up a double technical. I think it was in the first half.
oh yeah, it was the
Because that was after that
stupid
flagrant foul on Desi as well. That was a whole weird situation that I completely forgot about it until I saw that Gasson had a technical foul.
yeah.
So I hardly remember it at this point, other than I know that Desi, he went for a box out, kind of hit shoulder to shoulder with Jazz Coons, and he went just absolutely flying out of bounds.
Yeah,
And
Kuntz turned into a plastic bag for a
yeah. Now,
second.
don't get me wrong, it was definitely hard contact, but he did sell it, I think. And then tempers flared a little, and then there was a double technical on Gassan and Jaron Holmes. And the game was a little bit chippy for a while after that, but that was really about as far as that went. It more diffused over time after that because it was late in the first half, I think, when it happened, if I
Yeah,
recall correctly.
it was first half. I'm not sure when it happened. And, of course, he had the announcer. He was like, this isn't a chippy game, but it's a physical game. And he said that maybe 15 times.
Oh, yeah, they said that a lot. Yeah, that was
This is a
definitely not
Big
annoying.
8 basketball game.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. But
Sure.
yeah, I think that you can look at the scoring totals from each half, and that pretty much tells you the full story. Like, sure, we could get down to nitty gritty of the statistics and whatnot. Like, K-State shot significantly better in the second half than they did in the first. Well, go figure. We scored 15 more points in the second half than we did in the first, and then Iowa State, they shot worse significantly in the second half. Shocking because they only scored 24 points in the second half, right? Like, it kind of speaks for itself there.
Yeah.
But this was Iowa State without Caleb Grill, which is, I guess, somewhat notable. But he's it's not like he's their best player or anything. Gabe Kalster's their best player, and he had a pretty bad game. Although some of that was good defense, he was also just missing a few.
Oh.
But K-State all in all they in the second half found a way to like beat Iowa State at their own game in some ways, keep it low scoring, keep possessions low, and not turn over the ball really that much, all things considered. Just 11 total turnovers in this game, which is, I think, the mark that Jerome Tang set out. Yeah, early in the season, he said that 11 turnovers was kind of what they were looking for, like per game, as like a mark to hit. I think we're at 13.3 turnovers per game right now, which is not very good, but the last couple of games have been a lot better from this standpoint. And then we finish positive as a team with 13 assists to 11 turnovers. That ratio there is good. But we do get out rebounded in this game. Iowa State had 18 offensive rebounds in this game, which is just absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we did get to the foul line more than they did. 3-point, we made more and we were more efficient on fewer attempts. And Iowa State took 14 more field goals than we did in this game. They took 14 more shots than we did, but only made one more shot than we did, which is pretty insane. And only some of that can be contributed to 3-pointers. They shot 6 more 3-point shots than we did. So they were taking more shots. Some of that is, I guess, desperation at the end of the game and whatnot, but they were not shooting particularly well. They're not a great offensive team. They're in some ways kind of emulative of some of the better Bruce Weber teams, especially from later in his tenure, where they play really good defense and the offense can be good, but sometimes they just go absolutely bone cold and just can't hit anything. And that was kind of this game for Iowa State. It's not like K-State shot fantastic either. We were under 40% from the field, 33.3% from three, which is pretty good, but not fantastic. Shot well at the free throw line, but we didn't do anything like unbelievable in this game for the most part, I'd say.
Didn't have to.
Yeah. Second half was pretty good, all things considered. Iowa State did narrow it early, but we were able to really push it a little bit more. And Iowa State kept pushing back and even briefly took the lead. But kind of similar to the TCU game, we didn't let that phase us. And we got the lead all the way out to 9, and it ended up being a 6-point game, but that was just because they made a meaningless 3-pointer at the buzzer that put Kalsher into double figures, I guess, but didn't really do anything other than that.
I mean, being fair to them, we did the same thing last year with Nigel Pack. So
that is true. Yeah. Granted, that was way funnier though, because it was like a 1-point loss because of it. And it was a half court shot too. Like it was very similar. So, but it still didn't mean anything. The game was close enough to where it felt like it meant something. And then you check the scoreboard and you're like, oh, never mind. But yeah, this was, I don't know, it's been a little while since this game happened. So my memory's a little bit fuzzy on it, but I do remember being really stressful and frustrating in the first half. And this is a massive, massive, massive win. So that way we didn't let Iowa State sweep us. And we really helped hamper them in their quest to, I don't know, finish more high in the Big 12. I think they're all the way down to like the 5 or 6 seed at this point because they just got blown out by Texas. And they
may be playing on Wednesday now.
They're gonna be pushing it at this point. They actually will be. It depends on. Yeah, they're in 5th right now. TCU is in 6th, but that's not going to last.
Nope.
Yeah,
I'm so glad we played TCU when we did at home.
Yeah, 2 of their last 3 games are Tech and OU. Granted, they're both on the road. So who knows what will happen with that? But they are full strength now. So I imagine that they will win those games, at least one of them. But Iowa State, they kind of similar to last year. They start out really hot, but they've really been in a tailspin as of late. They've lost 6 of their last 8, which is sources report not very good. But I mean, K-State hasn't been fantastic either, but we've won 4 of our last 8, which is better. So, yeah. But I don't know. Tough sledding for Iowa State as things stand. I don't feel too bad for them. But
I've interacted with their Twitter fans. I don't feel bad at all.
They've got OU and West Virginia at home for their next 2 games, so that's a nice little gift. But then they finish on the road at Baylor, so I hope it was fun. Iowa State, while it lasted, they'll probably finish 10-8 in Big 12 play. But yeah. I don't know.
Yep. But that is the Farm-Again matchup. Now we get to talk about the matchup that Connor and I had no expectations for. And you and I seem to have a pretty bad track record this year when we go down to Baylor with absolutely zero expectations in basketball. Because we're 3-4 in games that we have zero expectations versus Baylor in basketball across both catsketballs. But, that's neither here nor there. This was a 75-65 Wildcat victory down in Bramlage Coliseum. It was another allegedly sellout crowd. There are a few empty seats. But this was, first off, there was the new debut of the new way of doing Sandstorm, which aside from, I think, them playing Sandstorm a bit too early in the game, they played it with like 12 minutes left in the second. I think Sandstorm is more of like a 5-minute or less kind of thing. Like, when you kind of need that extra shot of adrenaline. I thought it was fine. I'm not going to step on it too much because there's a Q&A question that we got earlier today that we'll be answering, but I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I wish I could have been there, but it looked awesome from the tons of videos that I've seen, and I've watched pretty much every single one I've seen because I can't get enough of it. But yeah, like you said, I won't step on it too much, but really, really good idea by the AD. But that was also a critical juncture in the game that put us up to 6, and it was after the Keontae dunk and then a Cam Carter layup that we trailed just a few minutes before by 3 and then ended up by 6. They take a timeout. And it did not matter because we ended up going up to like 13
Yep.
and 12, 13, 14. Yeah, I forgot the lead got to be that big, but yeah, really, really cool. And going down the list, there probably wasn't a better time to play it, I think. Especially since we pulled away, but it could have backfired
Oh yeah.
if we had let them back in. Because Sandstorm, I feel like should be. I think you put it well. It should probably only be a thing that happens when you're like the game is almost in hand, or basically is in hand, or like a big momentum shift has happened, and like it's getting really late. It felt a little bit early to me as well, but I'm not gonna split hairs about it because like it didn't matter.
Yeah. But yeah, you got starters.
Yeah. So Keontae Johnson had a absolutely fantastic game. 11 of 17 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3, 1 of 2 at the free throw line, and then throw in a couple of dunks, an early lob, and then a breakaway slam on a really, really good find from Cam Carter. So Keontae Johnson had himself a day from the field, 25 points in 38 minutes. Now, then he had just 1 rebound, which is pretty low for him, actually, because I think he's leading the team in rebounds, but that wasn't really what he's focused on. If he's dropping 25, I honestly don't care. But
You can do what you want. You're dropping 20. I
yeah,
don't care.
still ended up with 3 fouls because he does not get the star treatment when it comes to fouls. And then he had 4 assists and 3 turnovers. So really fantastic day from Keontae Johnson. And moving on to Marquise Noel, who had a really strange game. This was definitely his cleanest game in everything but shooting in quite some time. He finishes with 10 assists and 0 turnovers. Just fantastic there. You cannot ask for much more. Only thing I'll say is that there was 1 or 2 times he almost had a turnover, but the ball just bounced the right way and
Yeah.
we were able to retain possession. That it otherwise would have been a turnover, but I digress. Did not shoot well from the field at all. 2 of 11 from the field, 0 of 6 from 3, but he was 10 of 10 at the free throw line. Continues to be a fantastic free throw shooter. He's right on the cusp of 90% from the free throw stripe. 14 points on the day from him, 2 rebounds as well, 2 steals. He had 4 fouls too. So Marquise still forcing some threes. Granted, some of them were open and he just didn't make them. But also at this point, he is kind of figured out, I think, when he's driving to the bucket. There's not really a move left in his arsenal that other teams don't know about, with the exception of the 3-pointer, I think. So Keese, unless he's taking wide open layups, probably shouldn't be penetrating to score very much, but rather to distribute, which is kind of what he was doing in this game for the most part, other than when he did take those shots that mostly got rejected. But he had a fantastic day as a distributor, so you can't complain too much there. Cam Carter had probably his most well-rounded day. He almost had a double-double. He played 33 minutes, had 10 points, 5 of 11 from the field, 0-5 from 3, but he did have a huge transition dunk, and then didn't do great from 3. That's normally where you'd like to see him succeed, but he still was able to make up for it in other areas and was really better than normal for his standards around the basket. Normally he's missing some head scratching layups and stuff like that in
Yep.
games, but ends up going 5 of 6 on 2-point shots. So good for him. 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 turnover, a block, 2 steal, finishes with 10 points. Really nice day for Cam Carter, and pair that with some good defense. Naquan Tomlin only played 19 minutes because of foul trouble. But he went 3 of 6 in the field, 1 of 2 from 3. When he shot the 3, my heart sank because we were really starting to fall into a pit. Like I think we were down by 8 or maybe 10. And then he hit that 3. And like I put my head into my hands when he took that corner 3. I did not have any faith in him, and I apologize. But he still finishes with 8 rebounds, 4 offensive rebounds, an assist, a turnover, a steal, and 8 points. So solid day for Naquan Tomlin in limited minutes. And then Desi Sills, 2 of 6 from the field, 2 of 2 from the free throw line, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 turnover, and 6 points in 33 minutes in his second game as a starter. So solid game for him.
Yeah. And like, I've seen, for some reason, I remember seeing discourses like, well, if Desi's starting now, that means he's not going to get sixth man of the year. It's like,
That's not how it works.
that's not, A, that's not how it works. And B, who cares?
Yeah. Yeah, that's not how sixth man of the year works. I know Coach Tang said something in a press conference that he actually called the Big 12 offices about it. And I think they said you have to come off the bench in at least half of your team's games, I think is what it is.
Well, he's already done that. So
yeah, he did that a long time ago. So he's fine to start indefinitely at this point.
Yeah. But anyway, the other three is kind of the cycling rotation of the bigger guys plus Ish. David Gasson, 23 minutes, 3-3 from the field, 1 of 5 on the free throws. Yeah, you can't have that. I don't understand why he lines up like a wide receiver whenever he's throwing, like getting free throws.
Yeah, his legs are like so far apart when he's taking free throws, and I don't understand it. And I'd say whatever works for him, but it doesn't work.
It's not working.
So like he may want to consider something else.
Yeah.
I'm not sure though.
He had 4 rebounds, 2 of them offensive, 2 fouls, 1 turnover, 7 total points. Ish played 13 minutes, 2 of 3 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3, 1 rebound, that being an offensive rebound, 5 points. Then Bebe came in for 3 minutes to play some solid defense because he did miss a shot, and that shot was kind of painful to watch him miss. But
it was a fairly routine layup.
Yeah.
And just couldn't convert it. Oh, also fun fact on David Gasson, he currently is shooting 8% better from 3 than he is from the free throw line. He is shooting on, granted, 7 attempts, 57% from 3, and on 49 attempts at the free throw line, shooting 49%. So he's 24-49 right now. However, this gives an opportunity for him to be 25 of 50 if he gets an and one next game, and that would be very satisfying. But yeah, David Gasson has been very up and down as of late. 2 offensive rebounds is huge. Some possessions he looks really good. Others he kind of gets pushed around, and it's just kind of inconsistent. But that's just kind of how he's been since he's come back from his injury. I remember he went on that reign of terror in non-conference where he made like 20 shots in a row or something like that, and like was just absolutely wrecking shop against some quad 4 teams. But it's been a long time since that. I think he needs an off season to really get fully healthy. It's probably what he needs, and get a little stronger too.
Yeah.
But all in all, he's been okay as of late. But like you said, 1 of 5 in the free throw line, that cannot fly at this point. He's got to be more reliable than that. More reliable than Tyke Green at the stripe, who I think he's like 34% free throw shooter or something like that.
Yeah, we haven't seen Tyke recently.
Yeah, he has not played in the last 2 games, which was a thing I was about to bring up. But I'm a little surprised, I guess, just because he did kind of have that hot streak. But he also is a very situational player, I feel like, because he's just not really reliable from the field unless he is like dunking, basically.
Yeah.
Like if he's not dunking or literally right at the rim, then there's a pretty slim chance the ball's going in. Even at the free throw stripe, he's not very good there. Hasn't been a good 3-point shooter either. Great defender and good to bring off the bench, but I am still a bit surprised that we haven't seen as much of him.
Yeah. Also, one final thing that I want to touch on in this game is the K-State 3-point percentage of 19%.
Yeah.
Our field goal percentage was 48.3%. Awesome. You love seeing that. 19% from 3. If we lost this game, that's probably what we'd be talking about. You want to know how I know that? Because we've watched women's games. But you'd want to see better than that.
Yeah. However, what this also does mean is that we were fantastic from 2 in this game. Like, because we were attacking the paint and we just slaughtered Baylor on paint points. 42 paint points for us, just 16 for Baylor. We abused them on the interior. We had some plays that were drawn up early to just get us easy paint points. Keontae got 2 lob passes in like the first 2 possessions, and they both worked. And then we had Naquan go in and act like, and we had Keontae act like he was going up for the lob, but we just hit Naquan for an and one, and he converted. But yeah, 421 from 3, not good at all. A lot of that is Marquise going 0 of 6, of course, because generally he's going to make at least a few of those. But even if he made his season average, would put him at 2 of 6. That still is not good. 6 of 21 still not fantastic at all. But we shot 57% from the field in the second half while going 1 of 9 from 3, which is just absolutely unbelievable because we basically made almost every shot that was not a 3-point attempt in the second half.
Yeah.
Looking at it quickly, we went 14 of 17 from 2 in the second half, which is 82% on 2-point shots, which is just ludicrous. And then for the game, we would have been 24 of 37, which would put us at about 65% on the game from 2-point range. So we were doing something right and really converting some of those shots that a lot of the time in past games we've missed. And it's really come back to haunt us, like easy layups and like little bunnies that we just aren't able to convert. Cam Carter had a few that mattered a lot. Keontae, of course, was super efficient and did a really good job. But yeah, and of course, Marquise being more secure with the ball, making some really good passes as well. And everybody really stepped up to finish, except for Bebe, I guess. He misses 1 layup, but that's okay. He tried his best.
He tried his best.
But yeah, we were really, really good from the field. 71% from the free throw stripe. I'm not going to hold that against them though, because that's just such a skewed metric. Like at this point, you can really only measure this team based on individual free throw shooting because Keese was 10 of 10, but Gassan was 1 of 5. So like it's barely fair to judge the whole team as like one unit on free throws. So I simply won't. But
yeah. So that is the men's catsketball games they've had. The next game is up against Oklahoma State down in Stillwater. That game's kind of scary because Oklahoma State's been hot and Gallagher Iba's been pretty difficult to play at this year.
oh, one last thing on this game. We only had 7 turnovers. I think
that's right.
that's like our season best mark, I think. Keontae had 3 of them, and we had 4 other guys with 1. Keese had 0. So shout out to men's catsketball team for taking care of the ball. 20 assists to 7 turnovers. Good for them.
And that's big. That's real big.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So remember how we said for multiple weeks that moving on to women's basketball. Remember how we said multiple weeks that losing to TCU was not acceptable and there'd be a meltdown on this show if we did?
I remember that.
It happened. The women's team lost to TCU in Fort Worth, 75-62. And while I think it would be very funny to go back and read the messages with which I sent to Connor, because Connor can confirm that I was, in a word, irate this game.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. I mean, I was also not happy about this result. Granted, anybody with a functioning brain should be pretty disappointed and upset because, man, straight up, it's an embarrassing loss. I mean, that was a team that was 0 of 13 in Big 12 play up until they beat you. And
they weren't competitive in any of those games.
Yeah, they were not a good team. Generally, more often than not, we're blown out. This is a team we beat by 20-ish earlier in the season, and we just played a bad game against the Horned Frogs. They, granted, were just shooting the lights out better than they normally do. They were 50% from 3. TCU was in this game, but I mean, that's hardly an excuse. Some of it's an effort issue. But I also think we didn't expect to get this much fight from a TCU team that just has been awful. And I mean, they're not playing any postseason ball, and there's no expectation. Like they won't even get an invite from like the one that comes after the NIT. I can't even remember what it's called. I think it's like the CBI or something like that. And yeah, just a really, 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 really bad game, and a game that K-State, I think, probably was embarrassed about based on the results of the following game. But I don't know. There's no moral victory to draw from such an
No.
objectively awful loss.
And I don't want to be the guy that says like they should be embarrassed, but they they kind of really should be. Like, because this isn't this isn't losing to Tulane in football where we figured out, eventually we figured out they were good. No, TCU is genuinely the worst team in the Big 12, bar none, and they may very well be the worst Power 5 women's basketball team in the country. Honestly, if you're willing to extend it to Power 6, who else competes? Like Houston, maybe? But I
I'll do some quick research on that claim.
Yeah, you can do the research while I go over starter stats. Gabby Gregory played 39 minutes, 5 of 17 from the field, 2 of 8 from three, 3 of 3 on her free throws, 5 rebounds, only 1 foul, 3 turnovers, 15 points. Jalen Glenn played 23 minutes, 5 of 8 from the field, 3 of 4 from three. Jalen Glenn's been quietly very hot from three recently. That's one of the few positives to draw from this game is Jalen continued to be hot from three. She also had 4 rebounds, but did end up fouling out and had 4 turnovers. Can't have that. 2 steals, 13 points. Her sister, Briley, 34 minutes, 5 of 13 from the field, 1 of 9 from three. No rebounds, ended up fouling out and giving up 2 turnovers, 2 steals, 11 points. Serena Sundell had probably her worst game of the year. 35 minutes, 1 of 7, 0 of 3 from three. 5 of 8 on her free throw attempts, 6 rebounds, 4 fouls, 9 assists, 5 turnovers, 1 steal, 7 points. Sarah Shamatzi, 19 minutes, 0 of 5, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 fouls. I just. Sometimes you have off nights in shooting. So Gabby Gregory going 5 of 17, you can't really predict that happening because that's just not something that happens a lot. But like, you can't just do that. Like, I think if you're going to look at there are only 2 positives to take away from this game. Jalen Glenn stayed hot from three, and Eliza Maupin off the bench had a double-double in 21 minutes. She had 10 rebounds and 10 points. But 5 of those were offensive rebounds, by the way. Eliza Maupin is already a problem, and it's going to get worse for other teams. However, the unfortunate consequence of me thinking that is me accepting at this point, due to this loss, that this year is kind of a wash. And obviously they probably make the NIT. Maybe, probably.
They're pretty much an NIT lock, I think, because I think at this point they're guaranteed to finish 500 or better. And that's like the bar to be an NIT team. So I'd imagine that they're going to be in the NIT and probably host.
Yeah, they'll probably host in the NIT. They'll win a couple games. I'm not sure how I'd react if they won the NIT.
They've won it before. Back in 2006, they won the WNIT. That was one of the Shaylee Lenning teams. I remember very, very fuzzily watching that game on like the worst resolution cable broadcast of all time. I remember it being really fuzzy already, and the memory of it from when I was like 7 makes it even worse. So also I did find some contenders for worst Power 6 team. Xavier in the Big East. They're 7-20 overall, 0-18 in conference play. Pretty bad. I didn't
Yeah.
find any ACC contenders that fall to the level of TCU, although Pitt came close-ish. Northwestern in the Big Ten are 9-18 overall, 2-14 in Big Ten play. Pretty bad. Pac-12, this is an intriguing one, is Arizona State. They're 7-18 and 0-16 in Pac-12 play. And then you get the SEC, where Texas A&M 6-18 and 1-13 in the SEC. So there's a handful of contenders for worst Power Five team this season. TCU, I think, at the very least, is bottom 3 based off of that list. They're right there with the Xavier, Arizona, A&M group, I think is probably what we're looking at. Not that this really matters in the greater context of our show, but we are illustrating how awful this loss is, basically, is
Yeah.
what we're going for, I guess. Then
Yeah.
on top of everything, this is a team that Jeff Mittie was the coach of before he came to K-State, gosh, like 8 years ago or something at this point.
Yeah.
But so this one probably stings extra for him. Losing to a team that fired you is gotta suck. But
Yeah. We say all this. We're done talking about this game. We say all
thank
this
goodness.
because they come back and win their next game up against KU. And not only do they win, they blow them out. They end up beating KU in Bramlage 63-45. Cool. I'm happy that we won this game. I'm happy that they only had one person in double digits scoring. I'm glad Serena Sundell and Gabby Gregory both found their shot again. I'm glad that I got to see Eliza Maupin, however little time she got, and watch her just be more athletic than people and be one of the most violent blockers I've ever seen in a women's basketball game.
Yeah.
I'm glad this game happened. I just wish the previous game didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. They really played great in this one. KU started out super hot. They won the first quarter 15 to 12. They were up 10-4 at one point and 13-7 one point and 15-12 by the end of the first. But really beyond that, K-State took the lead early in the second and did not look back from that point and gradually grew that lead out in the second quarter and then exploded in the second half and got out to a pretty substantial lead.
Yeah, I'll go over stats a little bit here. Serena Sundell, 36 minutes, 8 of 10 from the field, didn't try a three-point shot. 8 of 9 from the free throw line, 5 rebounds, 2 fouls, 7 assists, 5 turnovers. You want to see her clean that up a little bit. 1 block, 4 steals, 24 points. Gabby Gregory, 33 minutes, 8 of 21 from the field. So again, not that efficient, but doing her job. 3 of 10 from 3, fine. 1 of 2 on her free throw attempts, 4 rebounds, 1 foul, 2 turnovers, 20 points. Jalen Glenn had 38 minutes, 3 of 13 from the field, 1 of 7 from 3. So taking back what I said about her being hot from 3. 1 of 2 from the free throw line, 4 rebounds, 3 fouls, 6 assists, 2 turnovers, in a rare game without a steal from Jalen Glenn in the Big 12 steals leader, and it's not close. She did, however, give all of those to Briley, who played 35 minutes, 1 of 7 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3. 4 rebounds, 1 foul, 1 assist, 1 turnover, 1 block, 5 steals, 3 total points. Sarah Shimazzi, 21 minutes, 0 of 3 from the field. All of those were from 3. 5 rebounds, 3 fouls, 3 assists, 3 turnovers, 1 steal, 0 total points. And we got to see a few other new faces, but Connor covers the bench players for the women's team. And we've already talked about Eliza Maupin not getting many stats, but still being the most entertaining player to watch.
Yeah. Starting out first with Emily Ebert, Kansas native, so this game probably means a lot. She played 17 minutes, 2 of 4 from the field, 2 rebounds, 2 fouls, an assist, and 4 points. Heavenly Greer played 10 minutes. Hadn't seen much of her as of late, but she was a solid matchup for KU because they do have some big post players that they like to use, although Tiana Jackson was largely ineffective offensively, just 4 shot attempts for in 37 minutes. despite at one point being a front runner for Big 12 Player of the Year. Heavenly Greer went 2 of 2, had 4 rebounds. 3 of those were offensive rebounds, had 2 fouls, had a steal, and 4 points. The rest of the bench players did not score. Eliza Moppa was the only one to attempt a field goal. She played 8 minutes, but had 5 rebounds in that time and had 2 offensive rebounds. She had a foul, 2 turnovers, 2 blocks, and a steal. And as Ace reported, those were pretty violent blocks. Yeah, Eliza Moppa, she continues to, every time she steps on the floor, be by far the best athlete on the floor. And it will be a terrifying day if and when she becomes the best basketball player on a court, because she's already very difficult to stop, as in like staying in front of her. She stops herself more than anybody, I think. I think that just the lack of basketball knowledge at this point in time, and lack of like organized basketball experience, is probably the only thing holding her back at this
Does
point.
this sound familiar to someone else that we know on K-State?
No. Naquan Tomlin is very similar, but
Yeah.
granted, he is much more drastic because he just did not play basketball at all
Yeah.
until like he was like a senior or whatever. But Eliza Maupin, when she adjusts to the D1 game, which I wish that she would get a few more minutes than just 8 in this game, like especially because we had a pretty sizable lead. Like this was a perfect opportunity for her to take some of Shematsi's minutes late in the game that Shematsi just doesn't really need at this point.
Yeah.
Like we know what Sarah Shematsi is, and it's a streaky shooter that is one of the larger players in the team that will have play some defense down the post. But this would have been a good opportunity for Maupin, but she also is kind of not a good matchup with Tiana Jackson, so I get it. Rebecca Dollinger and Taylor Lauterbach each played a minute and did not register any stats. Taylor Lauterbach's minutes have really fallen off the face of the earth over the last month or so. Dollinger we haven't seen a ton of this year either, which isn't the worst thing in the world. I think they're probably playing the correct role as things stand. Unless one of them starts to get on a hot streak, which Dollinger could all of a sudden become like that 40% 3-point shooter that she was in JUCO. I personally would really like that, but I think that'd be fantastic, honestly, if she would just become a really good 3-point shooter again. But
Yeah,
we'll see if that happens. But yeah, bench players, nothing super notable that jumps off the stat sheet, I guess, from most of them, other than the appearance of Heavenly Greer and then Eliza Maupin continuing to develop and be one of our favorites. And then I guess another notable stat is that K-State shot better in each successive quarter, percentage-wise. Started 25% from the field, then second quarter 35%. Third quarter, 46%, and then the fourth quarter, they were 53% from the field. So got better as they went from the field. 3-point shooting was generally not great in this game, but it did not matter because our defense was really good. We had 13 steals, 5 of them were from Briley, so we did just fine there. But points off turnovers were huge in this game, 19 of them, and we won by 18.
Yep. So this game made us happy. And luckily, with one exception, the next 2 games are quite winnable. That is at West Virginia in Morgantown and at Oklahoma. One's more winnable than the other, and that's West Virginia. I don't see us winning at Senior Day up against Texas. I love this team, I truly do.
Yeah, they're just a matchup nightmare for us in every conceivable way. I think they just bring so much size, and they're so physical and aggressive defensively and get away with a lot more than any other team does defensively in terms of contact. I'm not knowledgeable enough to know why that is. Maybe there's a reason. Maybe they're just paying off officials. I don't know. Either option is just as likely as Texas, but
they're going crazy.
but I have very little faith in our ability to beat Texas. But if we get at least one of the last 3, which probably has to be West Virginia, that'd be awesome. That'd put us at 17 wins, and we could lose our last 2 regular season and then lose in like the first round of the Big 12 tournament, and we would still have an above 500 record. And if we do that, that'd be great because then we'll almost certainly be in the NIT. I'd like it if we could pick up at least one game in KC though, and reserve a better NIT seed, because we really played ourselves out of the NCAA tournament despite having some nice marquee wins. But I mean, that loss at TCU pretty much put the nail in the coffin. I think we are at the point where we would have to win out and then probably
Make
win
the
all of our
finals.
games at KC.
Yeah.
Like,
Going 0 of 7 away, yeah, that'll do that. That'll do that for you.
yeah, which is a far cry from, at one point this team was a top 25 team, and I think that was back in November,
That
early
was back.
December.
That was like this. That was December.
Somewhere around there.
Because it all fell apart after we lost to South Dakota State.
Yeah, and that was just a 4-point loss, and then we got blown out by Texas to start conference play by like 40.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a unfortunate turn of events, I suppose. And Houston has ended up not being as bad as you would think. They're still bad. They're below 500, but they're 8-5 in their conference. Some of that is the Americans really bad, but 11-15 overall. So I don't know why that's relevant. I just saw them on the schedule. Remembered we played them.
I mentioned them
Won by a
earlier.
lot. Oh, that is right. You did do that. But yeah, this team kind of similar to the Batcats. They can really get it going at home sometime, but put them on the road, and all of a sudden, all of their power just leaves. But
Yeah, that's actually a good transition to the Batcats. And they actually started off. I've kind of we're gonna do at least. I think it's probably best that instead of going individual games, we kind of go through series with the Batcats instead of
yeah,
it's like here's what happened this game. Here's every single. Yeah, I don't want to spend 45 minutes talking.
yeah. I also don't. I mean, I would, but I don't think anybody else wants to do that. So
Yeah. So the first series of the year was up against Stephen F. Austin down in Nacogdoches, Texas. I just butchered that. Nacogdoches, Texas.
you're pretty close the first time. I mean, like, that wasn't bad at all.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
But first game of the year was 7-6, second game 8-4, 14-8 third, and then 16-5 in the final game. That is the first away series that K-State has opened with that has been a sweep in K-State history. And it is the first series sweep since 1986 to open a season.
I think it was the first. I think they meant the first 4-game road series sweep in however long. I think it was the first road series sweep to start a season since the 80s. And it's only ever happened, I think, twice in K-State history. And it was once in the 80s, once in the 70s. But yeah, big time win for this series. Stephen F. Austin is not going to be a good baseball team this year, I don't think.
Oh, no, they're
but
not. Regardless,
winning 4 games in a row on the road against a conscious opponent is pretty difficult. Like Stephen F. Austin is not a good team, but they are conscious and putting forth effort. So and especially for a K-State team that has struggled so much on the road, starting out with a 4-game road sweep, even if it's a bad team, is impressive enough itself based on past trends. We'll see if that carries through the season, knock on wood, but I regardless am happy. And every game went better, I think, because I mean, you start out with like just barely squeaking out a win the first time around by 1. Then you make it a 4-run margin the second time around. The third time you win by 6, and then you just blow the doors off them on the last game of the series, 16-5. I mean, Stephen F. Austin was really never in that game. But I don't know. I guess we can still do some general thoughts and takeaways from that series. What do you have, Ace? For just like a grand, like larger scale takeaways, I guess.
Well, the first and foremost thing is maybe we can do like series MVPs whenever we get to that point. But the first and foremost thing is pitching is going to be a problem.
Specifically starting
pitching. Because I think we're setting it up to where our consistent weekend three is going to be Owen Burma, Jackson Wentworth, and then Herman Fajardo. We'll talk about Fajardo in a minute because he comes into play in the Lamar series, one game. Burma ended up going, I think three. Hang on, Burma ended up going.
He went three.
Yeah, he went three, and he going three, giving up 5 runs, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. That's not what you want in an open series starter. And it doesn't like we didn't really know what Burma was going to be because good luck trying to find D3 baseball film. Yeah, good luck. But we he's not he's not bad. He just doesn't have that one it skill. Like he doesn't have an elite breaking ball. He's not the most elite locator. He definitely doesn't have a lot of velocity. He does a lot of things fine. And like I think that might turn into a little bit of an issue, especially if he's going to be the opening starter for every weekend series. And Jackson Wentworth, he only ended up going 2 after we gas him up this entire time. He only ends up going 2. Herman Fajardo only ends up going 4. It's like 4 runs, college, whatever. And then the last day starter, I think is probably just going to be a spot guy. Like I think it's just going to be a spot guy because what Corsentino
to me that day 4 guy is more a peer into who our weekday guys are going to be when the season gets rolling. And Dalton Beck was not great. As I recall, he had a few wild pitches, a hit by pitch, 2 earned in 2 innings, which is not great. But the main consistent theme from the pitching in that first series is that while the starting was really, really shaky, the relief was actually quite good. Ty Rule was fantastic. 5 innings, 4 strikeouts, just 1 earned, 5 hits, and 18 batters faced. And then Corsentino closed out the game in the final inning, returning from last year. So some nice quality relief there. The second game, Tyson Neighbors gets 5 strikeouts in 2 innings, faces 8 batters. He does give up 1 earned and 2 hits, but all things considered, that's a solid outing. And then Shea Hardis went 3 innings, did not allow any runs, only 2 hits and 2 strikeouts. That's really, really great. And then last game, the second to last game, the third game, Wentworth really, really struggles early. Just isn't able to locate very well early. Maybe some nerves from having not pitched in quite some time. But Corey Cater did a really great job. 2 2/3, only allowing 1 hit and 2 walks, no runs. Mason Buss didn't do great in his 2/3 of an inning, but we'll come back to him. And Cole Weisenbaker was fantastic and 3 2/3 with 3 strikeouts and 3 hits. And then that last day, we had Corsentino, Evans, and Kyler Haney, and they in 7 innings combined for 3 earned and 8 strikeouts and 3 walks. So really, really quality stuff from the relief guys, even though the starting was not great. Again, it's tough to draw any major conclusions off of anything, especially pitching, because most of these guys only had 1 outing in that first series, with the exception of Corsentino. So it's tough to really draw any early conclusions because these guys will ebb and flow as the season goes. And if there's been one constant with K-State pitching, it's that relief guys have generally gotten better as the season has gone for K-State, and starting has generally gotten a little worse as the season has gone, which is very concerning because the starters are already not doing great, but the relief guys are already doing really well. So we might be looking at just throwing out a guy to sacrifice for that first couple innings. And
we're going to do the opener strategy. We're not even going to do starters. We're going to do openers.
Yeah, that may be the best strategy, but I don't know. What else do we have to draw from this series, Ace?
Honestly, the hitting has been really good. Which we expected. We expect this team to hit very well, hit for power, and you get games where Kojo hits 2 in the same game. He had 3 in the entire series, I'm pretty sure. Kalen Culpepper hits really well. Nick Goodwin, I don't think got a home run, but he was consistently an extra good, like a good extra base hitter. Even Cash Rugeley, coming back from, I believe, being hurt most of last year, was playing really well. And there are actually a few surprise contributors as well. The biggest surprise, well, actually, I'll let you touch on the surprise because you know who I'm going to say.
Yeah, you're talking about Brendan Jones, I'd
Yep.
imagine. He has been leading off, and he's been great so far for this team. He is the perfect leadoff man so far through those 4 games against Stephen F. Austin. Um, didn't strike out too much, only 3 times in probably 20 at bats. Was drawing, he drew at least 1 walk in 3 of the 4 games, drew 4 over the series, and generally hit very, very well, including the Lamar game. So cumulative stats for the season through 5 games, he's batting .400 through 5 starts and has only struck out 4 times, has drawn 4 walks. He's slugging .500, so he's doing pretty well there too. 2 doubles, 5 RBI, 3 steals as well. I mean, he's got 980 OPS right now, so you got to be really happy with that top part of your lineup as things stand. With Brendan Jones leading the way there, I've been pleasantly surprised because we saw him a little bit last year, mainly as a pinch runner and then a defensive sub, but we
Yeah.
didn't see him bat too much. We didn't see anything crazy from him at the plate, but I've really liked what we've seen from Brendan Jones thus far.
Yeah, I agree. Like that's been a real pleasant surprise. And I suppose the not the last thing, well, maybe the last thing to talk about that's newsworthy is Dom Hughes did get ejected and suspended from a game. We're all we'll say is that Kalen Culpepper hit a bomb. A catcher from South Texas said something to Kalen Culpepper. Dom Hughes took exception and shoved him. So he's suspended for, I believe that was it the first or second game of the series? It was the
Um,
second.
it was the 3rd game that he
It
was
was
suspended.
the third game of the series. So he's serving, I believe the standard suspension's four games. So he'll come back either at the Iowa game or at the Omaha game.
Yeah, he will definitely miss, as far as we know, the LSU game and the Sam Houston game, which are coming up this weekend for early listeners, I suppose. But he could come back for the Iowa game, and he's been DHing so far, and has actually been pretty solid. Doing I think much more consistent at the plate than he was last year. 364 through those 3 games, 11 ABs, then 4 hits and 3 walks, just 1 strikeout. I think that's the big thing for him, is getting the strikeouts down.
Strikeouts down.
And he's done a pretty good job in that regard. Just 1 strikeout through those ABs. That's really, really good. So hopefully we'll be able to get him back, and hopefully he'll be able to start launching him out of the field of play, because in a DH, we want to see some power. We know he's got the speed for it, and so far the series has been consistent. So hopefully you can start to add some more to it. But I don't know. Yeah, we don't know what the catcher said to Kalen Culpepper. We can read between the lines and make an educated guess, but we don't know what he said. So we won't speculate openly too much. Yeah, Kalen Culpepper had a pretty nice series himself, and has been all around fairly consistent batting. He has had 2 errors so far, and he's had a few moments defensively that haven't been great, which is unfortunate because last year he was fantastic as a true freshman defensively. Like one of the better defensive infielders in the whole Big 12 last year. That was as a true freshman. He's had a few mistakes that wouldn't register as errors that he probably could have avoided otherwise, but he's been batting pretty well. He's got the highest OPS on the team right now. 1.072 is his OPS through 5 games, with the tied for 3rd most ABs. And then been hit by pitch twice, which leads the team, and then walked 3 times. Does have 6 strikeouts, which is pretty high. That's tied for 3rd on the team, but I don't know. It's still very early, so it's tough to draw too much from that. But all in all, Stephen F. Austin series, starting pitching is pretty concerning. Relief pitching was pretty good for the most part. And then
Yeah.
batting was good for the most part as well. Got better as we went. Uh, didn't have too many errors. We did have multiple games with multiple errors. So maybe I'm just like getting conditioned to like the amount of errors we normally have. But
Yeah.
um, we at the very least kept it down from getting like cataclysmic. So there's that.
Yeah. So, do you have anything else you want to say about the Stephen F series? Because I was happy with it as an opening series.
Yeah. It went about how I expected, with the exception of I figured that we might drop a game, but we did not. So I was pleasantly surprised there. And we got better as we went, which I think was the best thing that could have happened in this series. Was if you're going to start slow, please finish strong. We definitely finished strong.
Yeah. So that's the Stephen F series, and yeah, next game we kind of, you and I kind of hit an alarm bell when we saw who they played literally the night before, because that is Lamar University, who ended up beating number 5 in the country, Texas A&M, the night before they played us. So that was concerning. We ended up dropping this game 3-4, which I'm willing to call this a quality loss as it stands right now. If we revisit this and Lamar University has not won a single game afterwards, I'll be concerned. But I think the biggest part of this, to kind of, it's a 3-4 game, so not a lot of offensive explosion, no errors either side. Do you want to talk about what I think is the major story, and that's the status of Herman Fajardo?
Yeah, we could talk about that a little bit. Yeah, Lamar, hopefully this ends up being a at least somewhat quality loss. I mean, they're 5-0 as things stand. They went 37-21 last year in 2010 in their conference. Did not make the NCAA tournament, but still had a good season. But Lamar, yeah, Herman Fajardo went just 2 innings in this game. But in the second inning looked to be pitching through some sort of injury. And he didn't really pitch great in this game. And he was pulled after that second inning. And some of that I do think was probably because it looked like he was nursing an injury on his I think it was his right ankle. It was his back foot for pitching. And he had to take a breather at one point and like kind of stretch it out. They had the trainer come out and he threw some warm-ups and was able to get out of the inning at the very least. But we did not see him after that. And that was a little bit concerning because even though he has not been great through 2 starts, he was one of our better relievers last year, especially down the stretch. He was really good down the stretch last year.
Oh yeah.
Kind of had the Eric Torres trajectory where you start out not so great and then really do fantastic down the road. But Fajardo has been thrust from reliever to starter this season and hasn't been fantastic so far, but this injury that he seems to be dealing with may have something to do with it. But then again, he is going to be starting the second or third game this weekend, which caught me off guard. I was pretty surprised by that. I didn't think that we'd see him this weekend, but we have some great opportunities to add some resume building wins this weekend. So we maybe ask him to fight through it for now and then give him like the next week or so off. I'm not sure. Or maybe he's feeling fine. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's a tweak. I don't know. We don't have insider information. If we tried really hard, maybe we could. I'm not interested in putting that much effort.
Yeah. I don't feel like annoying the baseball team just to learn about if a guy's ankle's okay. But
yeah.
we will learn the answer to that sooner or later anyways. So, but did not have a fantastic outing against Lamar. Trey Robertson came in relief and ends up with the coveted infinite ERA, giving up 2 earned and 0.0 innings.
Of course, it's the MU transfer.
yeah, tall lefty transfer. So at least we do have some lefty pitchers as opposed to last year when we just kind of didn't really for the most part. But
it was Dylan Phillips, baby.
And that was it. But Robertson, he did not do great in his limited appearance. Only faced 3 batters, gave up 2 hits, had a walk. But Mason Buss came in and was nails for 3 2/3. Faced 14 batters, did not give up a run. Gave up 4 hits and a walk, but did have 3 strikeouts as well. So really nice job for Mason Buss, the true freshman out of Wisconsin. Really, really good to see some of the young guys step up here and some of the new faces really come through. Other than that, for pitching, Tyson Neighbors walked the bases loaded and then got a strikeout in classic Tyson Neighbors
Tyson
fashion.
Neighbors fashion.
The
Tyson Neighbors special.
Yeah, I feel like all of last year he was constantly putting us in precarious situations and then like getting out of them. And I was like, that was really cool, but we could have just avoided that in the first place. But you know what? We didn't give up runs, so I can't complain. And Shea Hardis closed out the game, went 1 inning, faced 3 batters, and just induced some bad contact from Lamar. But fortunately, Cats did not come out on top in this one.
Yeah. If I were to give out the MVP offensively for this game, it has to be Rafael Pelletier, who was basically trying to put the team on his back.
Yeah, in this game, he pretty much was doing that. I mean, he went 3 for 4 with a solo home run, nearly had a second solo home run that bounced off of the upper part of the wall. And then another time, I think he had pretty solid contact. I don't remember exactly what happened with it, but just wasn't able to score. But scored 2 runs in this game for our team's 3. So
K would have had a home run if the wind didn't assassinate a baseball.
yeah, the wind was pretty brutal in this game. It was basically coming in directly on the batters and knocking down most everything that would have traveled out. And Lamar has a pretty high fence as well, so there's that too. So it's kind of a miracle that Pelletier was able to get a ball out of the park anyways. But he did a nice job there. Then Roberto Pena was the lone other scored run. Brendan Jones went 1 for 3 with an RBI too. So good for him. He did nice. We only struck out 7 times as a team in this game. I think we were in double digits almost every Stephen F. Austin game.
Yeah.
But did not strike out as much in this game.
That's just going to be the Batcats. They're big time kind of 3 outcome, walk, strikeout, home run, except for when we randomly decide to start bunting. But that's just
or in the Big 12 tournament. That's when we become like a baseball. We play like a totally different baseball team. Like even like strategy wise, we are something else when we're down in Arlington for the Big 12 tournament.
But yeah, I'm not going to say this is a disappointing loss because I don't think Lamar's bad. I think them beating number 5 in the country, not LSU, good God, that's who we play. I think them beating A&M kind of shows that they're a good team that's capable of winning, big games when they have to. I'm not melting down over this. I'd rather we win, but
we are better. We are in a better position right now than I expected. Honestly, I figured we'd probably be 3-2 or like 2-3 as things stand. But we're 4-1. Would have been nice to get that last one over Lamar. We just couldn't quite get over the hump. I would have liked to have been undefeated headed into the Round Rock Classic because we are going to get hit by the buzzsaw that is LSU. I have 0 expectations for that game because I frankly just don't know what to expect from that game.
Yeah.
I imagine we get destroyed. But it's so early in the season that you just never know. I mean, like some teams can be vastly overrated. You just don't know. That's why you have to play the games. But I don't know. I am definitely worried about this LSU game, and I hope it doesn't scare off people if we do get blown out. Because just because you get blown out by the number 1 ranked team in the country doesn't mean that you're a bad team.
Yeah.
But as things stand, LSU is 4-0. They swept Western Michigan, and then they ruled Southern University. They played all those games at home in Baton Rouge. So we don't know a ton about them either. In the same way, we don't really know a lot about ourselves. So we'll learn a lot at the very least from this outing. But ultimately, we will know the most about these games later in the season. Like maybe Iowa ends up being a really good team. Yeah. I'm not anticipating that, but it could.
Yeah, my goal is that we leave the state of Texas above 500. So that means we pick up one of three in the Round Rock Classic.
Yeah, I think that's a decent goal to have. Because I'm just not gonna set myself up for disappointment with LSU. I feel like that's a fool's errand.
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
I will simply temper my expectations with the LSU game. Um, Iowa, as things stand, is 3-0 with wins over Indiana State and then 2 wins over Quinnipiac. I have no idea the quality of those teams. Last year they went 36-19 and 17-7 in the Big Ten, which is pretty good. And they had a nice run through the Big Ten tournament as well, but they did not play in the NCAA tournament despite hitting 36 wins, which is kind of surprising.
Yeah.
Going 17-7 in a conference play in a power conference, I think that'd be enough. But the Big Ten is a little bit weaker in baseball just because it's northern schools, so it's tough to succeed in a sport that's meant to be played outdoors when it's like cold out for like half your season. So
Yeah.
understandable. Then Sam Houston's 3-2. They are all over the place in their results. They lost 3-1 at Rice on Wednesday. And then they took a series against Rhode Island with some of the most inconsistent scores I've ever seen. They won the first game 3-2. They lose the second game 13-3, and they win the third game 25-2. And then they play a one-off against McNeese State and win 18-6. So your guess is as good as
I
mine
don't know, man.
in regards to Sam Houston. And then with 31-25 last year, 21-9 overall. Didn't really make any noise, and they didn't really get to the postseason, it seems. But so that's your very, very brief and incomplete preview, I guess, of the Round Rock Classic and the other teams that we'll be seeing. One of them is ranked number 1, and the other two are definitely baseball teams. And
Yeah.
we will see if they're good or not. Just can't really tell.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the goal is to escape Texas above 500.
I agree. I think that's probably a solid outcome to desire. And they'll have a really quick turnaround to face Omaha in Omaha that following Tuesday, because they play that last Round Rock game against Iowa Sunday at noon. They'll get done with that probably around 3:30, and they'll have to be out of Texas in probably a couple of hours. I don't know how long it takes to pack up and everything. And then they got to drive to Omaha because they'll have another game in like 48 hours. So,
Yep.
and they'll be down in Austin. I don't think they're flying. So, well, maybe they are. I don't know. The volleyball team flies.
Yeah, they probably fly then.
You would think, because if they don't, then man,
We could ask. We could.
I guess that's true. Because if they take the bus, that would be brutal. So
God.
there's just no way that they are going to take the bus from Austin all the way to Omaha one ride. There's just no chance. But I don't know. Still early in the season, so we're still wide eyed and really excited about the season. Because if nothing else, this is going to be an entertaining team to watch, and they're going to hit a lot of home runs.
Oh
So
yeah,
we'll see.
this is going to be a fun team. They may not be the greatest team in the country, but they're going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, especially at home.
Yeah. So that is the recap. Now we get into the wacky segment of the week, everyone's favorite segment of the week. And that is if you had to have meals cooked and if you had to eat meals cooked by only one person involved with K-State, who are you picking? My
That's
answer is
easy.
very easy.
Mine's easy too. I think we may have the same answer. To start with A and
Yes,
yeah, it's Ayoka Lee.
it's
And
Ayoko Lee because
yeah,
of the baked goods.
that's exactly why. I remember last year there were lots of like quotes floating around about how she like bakes a lot and stuff like that. So I'm like, I feel like that's the easy answer there, because well, for one, I don't know of any other good chefs that are K-State athletes. So
I
that's a default pick there.
yeah, like because I thought I was so clever coming up with this. With I was like, oh, like maybe he forgot about the fact that Yoki's a noted baker. Um, if I
I
can't
did
say
not forget that.
if I can't say Yoki, I'd say Javon Banks because his dad owns a food truck. So maybe he's picked up a few
Well, it's
things.
one person involved at K-State. I mean, maybe you could just have his
Oh,
dad
could just do
do it
Javon
for you.
Banks. Oh, wait. Could
Yeah,
just have
yeah.
his dad.
Jeffrey Banks, I think is his name. Because he's got a food truck. A few other options, I guess, would be probably families of the coaching staff for men's basketball, because you could get some really good Caribbean food from them.
Bro, I could get a peach cobbler from Colin Klein's wife.
That is true. You could get a peach cobbler from Shaylin Klein. That I'm assuming that's what was closed the deal on Avery, was the
The
peach
peach
cobbler.
cobbler.
But I'm trying to think of other options. Surely, I think Brian Anderson and Van Malone, uh, both barbecue some. I seem to remember them having some sort of cook off at one point. So
Clancy
I would
fries fish. I've seen that,
that'd be
but
good
I
too.
hate fish.
Yeah, I'd have fresh fish maybe. I don't know. Maybe if we went out to the coast and if he got like maybe some halibut or something. I like halibut. But gosh, who are other coaches that are like good at cooking stuff? I don't know. Or other players. I don't know. I guess we're gonna have to ask everybody what they're good at cooking.
Don't like we just DM every single player like
Can
from
you
the
cook?
team. Like, can you cook?
No, thanks.
No. All right, thanks. Like we don't. That's the lone interaction we have with. Hey, can you cook? No. All right, thanks.
Yeah, but there's a few really solid options there. Ayoka Lee is the star power option probably.
Yeah.
Maybe Kim Tang. Seems like she's always cooking something.
Yeah.
Drum Tang's sister. So
Ooh, doesn't Jareem's wife own a bakery?
yeah, she does actually. Yeah, she has like a baking business, and he posts pictures of it sometimes. It looks really good. But so there's a ton of options actually. We started with a very narrow mindset, but we've expanded this out to all of a sudden there are plenty of options in and around Veneer where we could get some really good food.
Yeah. Now I'm hungry. With that
I am
said,
too.
thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. If you want to contact the show or follow us on Twitter, we are at Aggieville Alleycats on Twitter. It's capital A, capital C, and cats. If you want to email us, we're AggieVilleAlleycats@gmail.com. If you want to follow us on a more personal note, I am at AC Edwards00.
I am at Connor Baltazar, capital C, capital B.
And if you want to support the show financially, please be sure to check out the official Aggieville Alleycats merch store, where you can find such designs as the staff-approved Doomtang Clan, Play Sandstorm Cowards, and Neon Alleycats. But most importantly, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast, where come rain, shine, or anything in between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. Stay safe, Alleycats.